Hello my friends and welcome back to another video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Poppy. In this channel we all love books, everything bookish, everything cozy. So if that all sounds good to you, consider subscribing. In today's video we'll be talking about all the books that I have read so far this year. I have so far read 28 books this year. These might not sound like a ton to some people, but for me they are quite a lot. I feel like this year I have been reading more in comparison to the previous years. So I will be ranking all of the books that I have read from worst to best. I have been loving watching these videos lately, so I decided why not film one myself. So we'll be giving you just a few quick thoughts about each and every one of the books that I will mention, as well as my rating. We have 28 books, so let's start. I have my list right here in front of me on my laptop, and let's start with number 28, which is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. I listened to it in an audiobook form. I didn't have a physical copy of it. I don't know if that had anything to do with my experience, but I felt like I couldn't connect with the characters. I was feeling a bit bored throughout the majority of the book, and this was my second book from her, and honestly I'm not giving up. I will read more books from her, but this one was not my cup of tea. Number 27, we have The Keeper of Stories by Sally Page. This is a book about a cleaner who is called Janice, and she likes to collect stories from other people. Maybe when she's sitting on the bus, she likes to listen to other people's stories, and I mean I could relate. When I am at the bus or in the metro or at the train, I like to do that as well from time to time. I gave this book 3 stars because even though I did enjoy some parts of it, there were quite a few parts that I was just not connecting with the character, the main character Janice, and with the story in general. On number 26 we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This is a book that I recently finished. I gave this 3.5 stars. I went into this book with really high expectations, and I don't know if that affected my whole experience with it. I know that a lot of people adore this book. I believe that it has also won an award, but unfortunately I didn't find what I was looking for in this book. And even though this book is about gamers and about gaming and creating games, and I'm not a gamer, I don't think that that was the main issue that I had with this book. I felt like the human relationships and friendships in this book were pretty messy, and there were a lot of parts that I was annoyed with our characters and their choices and the way that they were acting. I guess I could say that this is how real people in real life would act and react. I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them. We cannot always expect people in real life to react the way that we want them, and that's, I guess, what happened with the characters in this book. But even though I did enjoy some parts of this book, there were so many parts that I just wanted to skip, and there were parts that were not keeping me engaged and entertained and interested. So I was a bit disappointed, and that's why I gave this book 3.5 stars. On number 25 we have another Emily Henry book. This is Happy Place, and this was a reread for me. The funny thing is that last year it was the first time that I read this book and I had given it 5 stars, but now after having read a lot of other books and books from different writers and exploring different writing styles and different stories, I have decided that this is a solid 3.5 stars. So that is a huge change from 5 stars to 3.5, but I feel like within this year I have changed as a reader and the way that I am viewing my books and reviewing my books and rating my books. And even though this was a nice story, the miscommunication trope was killing me. I couldn't handle it. It was making me so mad, because this book is supposed to be following a couple who has been together for years, and then they broke up, they broke off their engagement, and they still don't know how to communicate with each other. I liked how this book focuses on friendship as well, and I feel like the ending is what saved, let's say, my rating, because other than that I can really see why some people don't like Emily Henry's writing. On number 24 we have How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu, and this is also another recent read for me. I gave this 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. It was truly interesting, and it did pull me into the story. This was a heavy and sad book. It is a collection of short stories by people during different time periods who are affected by a deadly virus, by a plague. Some short stories were more interesting than others, but overall I did enjoy the book. But I feel like what dropped my rating to 3.5 stars was the ending. It left me a bit lost and a bit confused, and I'm not accusing the book for that. I'm not judging the author for that. I feel like it has to do with me and with English not being my first language, and I feel like if I reread this, maybe my rating will change. Overall, I did enjoy the book, but it was not my absolute favorite. Number 23, we have The Other Miss Bridgerton by Julia Quinn. This was a fun, funny, fluffy read. This story follows Poppy Bridgerton. She comes from the Bridgerton family, from a wealthy background. She ends up being kidnapped by pirates, and the story unravels from there. I like the communication between Poppy and the main male character, whose name I don't remember. Captain Andrew James Roxby, that's the guy. I liked how they were talking to each other. I found their communication just cute and funny, and the main character Poppy is a funny and sassy character. I liked her, but overall it was nothing revolutionary, nothing crazy. It was a fun, fluffy palate cleanser, if I may say, but I did enjoy it overall, so I gave it 3.5 stars. On number 22, we have A Court of Frost and Starlight. This is a book that I listened as an audiobook, and almost the whole series of ACOTAR I have listened in an audiobook form. I still don't have my physical copies. I really want to buy them and reread the series, but when it comes to A Court of Frost and Starlight, I gave it 3.5 stars because I felt like this was just a fluffy, light Christmas special, and it was a nice change because we also saw other point of views, and we're not seeing just Feyre's point of view anymore. We also got to see what other characters were feeling and thinking. This was just a little filler, something nice after the heaviness of Aquawar, A Court of Wings and Ruin. I did enjoy it, but of course it cannot be compared to the previous books or the next book. On number 21, we have The Millionaire Next Door. This is the only non-fiction book that you will find in this video on this list. I feel like during the previous years I was reading way more non-fiction, but now I am reading only fiction. I am just loving it, and I'm just taking a long break from non-fiction. I'm not saying that I will never read it again, but for now I just prefer reading only fiction books. This was a really nice book about millionaires, how they become millionaires, how they stay millionaires, how they do it, and all this good stuff. It was pretty interesting. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, and I have nothing else to say about it. Number 20, we have the book called Still Alice by Lisa Genova. This is also a book that has been turned into a movie. As you can tell, this is an actress on the cover. This book follows Alice, our main character, who is a very successful and smart professor at a university. I don't remember in which university, but she is diagnosed with early on Alzheimer's disease, and we follow her story with this disease and her family and her loved ones and how they all deal with it and how their lives are changing. I really enjoyed this book very, very much. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Of course, it was a bit sad, but it was also very nice learning more about this disease and how a person who is affected by it lives with it. On number 19, we have A Court of Thorns and Roses. This book will always hold a special place in my heart because I feel like this book introduced me back to fantasy. I was reading fantasy when I was a teenager, and then I stopped, and as an adult I was thinking that I'm not gonna read fantasy ever. This is not for me. I think that I'm not gonna like it. I used to like it as a teenager, but now I don't think that I will be able to connect with the characters, with the plot, with the story, and man was I wrong. When I started ACOTAR, I DNF'd it at first, and then a couple of people told me to push through and that it gets better, and I will be forever grateful to these people because that was the only truth. It did get better, almost over halfway off the first book, and the rest of the books are obviously phenomenal. So my rating for ACOTAR, even though it was not my favorite read, but it did have an impact on me and it did pull me back into fantasy, my rating is 4 out of 5 stars. On number 18, we have Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I have read a few books from this author and I really love his writing. I have given this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the story. I don't think that this is my favorite book from this author, but still it is a very good story, and I feel like this is one of the books that I will want to reread sometime in the future. On number 17, we have Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, who is definitely one of my new favorite authors. I have only read 2 books from her, but both of these books were fantastic. Her writing just pulls you into the story immediately. She has such likable, relatable, real main characters and characters in general. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I really liked how this book had an older main female character, even though she's not old at all. I think the character is in her late 30s, but I just found it refreshing because most of the books that I read, the main characters are so young, and I just love reading about older characters since I'm not a teenager anymore. So, incredible book, 4 out of 5 stars. I will now need to move these books here because we need to start talking about them, this phenomenal book series. So number 16, we have none other than Throne of Glass. This is a 4 out of 5 star read for me as well. This is a beautiful introduction to the whole Throne of Glass series. You can tell when you're reading it that the author was young when she started writing this book, but that didn't affect my experience whatsoever. I really enjoyed the story and getting to know all our main characters, or some of our main characters. And if you haven't read the Throne of Glass book series, don't walk, run to a bookstore and you will thank me later. On number 15, we have another book from the Throne of Glass series. We have Heir of Fire. In this book, we are introduced to so many new characters, which was super fun. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars as well. I think that there were some parts that I felt like the story was moving a bit slowly, but still these parts I feel like were necessary in order for the whole story to come together. On number 14, we have Crown of Midnight, another really good book from the Throne of Glass series. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars as well. Very enjoyable, very fun. Obviously, I don't know what to say, so I won't give any spoilers, so we'll leave it at that. Just read the series. On number 13, we have Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This is another recent read for me, and this was 4.75 stars. So the ratings are getting higher now, and this is the last book that is not 5 stars. All the rest that I will mention are 5 stars, so the good stuff is coming. I was thinking that this was going to be a 5 star for me, even though it was not, but still it was an incredible book. I love the writing and the whole story and plot, our main characters as well. I found the whole energy of this book very warm and wholesome and cozy and romantic, even though there is a war going on during this book. It was not something incredibly upsetting and in your face, if that makes sense, because I have read about wars in other books and I am stressed out, but I feel like there is something more mellow in the story and in the writing. But I just love this book and I cannot wait to read the second one because this is part of a duology, so I'm really excited to see how this is going to end. So now all of the other books that I'm going to mention are 5 stars for me. I love them all so much. Of course, I love some of them a little bit more than others, but still, these are all the bomb, and if you haven't read them, you should read them. All of these are my recommendations to you. So on number 12, I have The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This book was too good. I fall under the category of people who loved this book because I know that this book also has received quite a few negative comments, but for me this was fantastic. This was eye-opening, moving, it made me emotional. It just made me think about my life and my choices and how I am living my life, and if there is any point in having regrets in our lives and wondering and saying what if. On number 11, we have another 5-star read and another Abby Jimenez book. It is the book Just for the Summer, the first book that I ever read by Abby Jimenez and the book that introduced me to Abby Jimenez's writing, and I think that I'm never going back. I know that I have read only 2 books from her, but I feel like her books are very good. They are romances, but they have so much depth to them. If you think that this is just a fluffy summer read, it is not. There are some sensitive and important topics being described in this book. I feel like the main male character, Justin, is one of the best book boyfriends I have ever read about. I also like Emma, our main female character. She has been through a lot. Our girl Emma and Justin, they deserve happiness and they deserve the world. On number 10, we have Carrie Soto is back. I feel like Taylor Jenkins Reid, I am sure that Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of my favorite authors. I have never read a bad book from her. Every single book that I have read from her is either 4 stars or 5 stars. And this was such a pleasant surprise because even though I knew that I would love the writing, I felt like maybe because it is about tennis, I wouldn't be crazy about it. Also had heard mixed reviews about the book, but this comes to show that we should always experience a book ourselves to judge it and to see if we truly like it or not, because this was incredible. I have never played tennis in my life. I was never interested in tennis ever in my life, and this book made me interested in tennis, made me want to play tennis. I just admire our main character, Carrie. I just have an admiration and love for athletes in general. I just feel like being an athlete is really hard and you pull your whole being into it. Just keep in mind that this book is about tennis. It is really about tennis. It doesn't have a lot of romance or a lot of other things going on in here. It is about tennis and about the main character's journey with tennis and her journey alongside her father, because her father is her coach. On number 9, we have A Court of Silver Flames. Of course, another 5-star read for me. I love Nesta, I love Cassian. Before we even got a book for them, my favorite characters from ACOTAR are Nesta, Cassian, and Umbren. These 3 characters, I just love them. I could read about them chapter after chapter, page after page. It doesn't matter what they say, what they do. I know that my girl Nesta is receiving a lot of hate online, but I don't care. I will forever defend and love Nesta. I didn't have to read this book to like her. I already knew that she was onto something and that she was a misunderstood character. I mean, all the way back in ACOTAR, she was the one who tried to find Feyre. And I'm not gonna say anything else because I think that I'm about to spill spoilers here. I only disliked her at the beginning of ACOTAR. After that, I knew that she was going to become one of my favorite characters. Every time she was talking to Cassian and they were giving us a few crumbs, I was eating them up. And when I finally started reading this book, I was the happiest girl in the world. Fantastic. And this is also very spicy. So on number 8, I have Tower of Dawn, a book with another misunderstood character. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a Chaol, not hater, but I had a little bit of a beef with Chaol at some point, even though at the beginning of a story in Throne of Glass, he was my book crush, but I don't have any beef with Chaol anymore. I feel like he is a misunderstood character. He has said and done some questionable things. Mostly he has said some questionable things, but let's all just keep in mind that he's a young human guy with no magic in his system, and he went through a lot as well. A lot of trauma, a lot of darkness. But of course, this book is not only about Chaol. It has so many other interesting and fun characters. I love this book a lot. I did do the tandem read, so I read Tower of Dawn with Empire of Storms, and reading these 2 books at once, it was just the best experience ever. On number 7, my lucky number, we have A Court of Mist and Fury. I still vividly remember the Starfall ball. Can I call it like that? It was a ball, right? So beautiful. One of the most beautiful chapters I have ever read in a book. Such a good book. It made me giggle, it made me happy, it made me sad, it made me everything in between, and that's why it is rightfully on number 7. On number 6, we have Queen of Shadows, again from the Throne of Glass series, and again by Sarah J. Maas. This is no secret, she is one of my favorite authors. This is such a good book. So many incredible, phenomenal, fantastic, breathtaking scenes in this book. I wish I could experience this book again for the first time. There was a specific scene in this book that I cannot say what it is because I don't want to give any spoilers, which I still vividly remember and I will forever keep it in my mind. I will only say 2 words: Selena and dancers. I'm not gonna say anything else, okay? Because I don't want to give any spoilers, but if you have read the book, you know what I'm talking about. On number 5, we have a book which is not by Sarah J. Maas. So this is by Susanna Clarke, Piranesi. This was such a unique experience. I really do not even know how to explain this book to you. You will either love it or hate it. I know that a lot of people are really confused and lost with this book and they didn't like it, but I fall under the other category of people who gave it 5 stars, who enjoyed it so much. This is just a book that I wish I could experience again again for the first time. I have never read anything like this book. On number 4, we have The Assassin's Blade. Incredible, fantastic. I loved every single one of these novellas because this book is essentially a few novellas all in one book. I read The Assassin's Blade third, even though we are supposed to read it first, but I don't regret it. I connected with the main character Selena even more for this book, and it was just one of the best books that I have ever read. On number 3, we have such a stunning book. We have Empire of Storms, again by the Throne of Glass series. This book had me on a chokehold. This book made me so emotional. It made me cry, it made me smile, and the ending ripped my heart out and just threw it on the floor. On number 2, we have A Court of Wings and Ruin, which is also my favorite book in the ACOTAR series. That book made me again cry, it made me smile, it had me again on a chokehold. This is such a phenomenal book. If you're into plot and war and politics, this is the book that you probably have as a favorite as well among all the books in the ACOTAR series. And I just cannot wait to buy a physical copy so I can reread it. That's all I have to say. And in number 1, it comes to no surprise, I have Kingdom of Ash, the last book in the Throne of Glass series. I will never move on. This book made me feel all the feelings. This book is huge and it still felt like it was not enough. I was so devastated when it ended, but the ending was beautiful for the most part, and I cannot believe that my Throne of Glass series journey has come to its end. I was reading these books every single day, almost every single day, for about 3 months, and I feel like these characters are now my friends. And I have to say that I am still thinking about these books every single day, as well as the characters. I'm also thinking about the ACOTAR characters, but these ones, I have to say that overall, Throne of Glass is even better than ACOTAR. I know that ACOTAR is not finished yet, and that also low-key stresses me out because I don't know who is going to die. This was incredible, phenomenal. If I could give it 6 stars, I would give it 6 stars. And that brings us to the end of this video. I feel like I have been talking for so long. I feel like my battery is about to die, so I need to say my goodbyes now. I would love to know if you have read any of these books and your thoughts on them, so let me know down in the comments. I would like to thank you all very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye friends!